Hello everyone, this is Joe from the Mad Mimi team. Whether you're just starting out with a Mad Mimi account or you've been using us for a while and want some more confidence navigating the account and the tools that are available, this demo is going to cover those essential things that you need to create emails, manage your subscribers, and use some of the additional tools and features that Mad Mimi provides. We'll also finish up with how to go through the sending process. If you have any other questions that are not covered in this demo as we go, our 24/7 email support team is always happy to answer any questions we can. And feel free to pause, skip ahead, go back as you need. The first thing we're going to really cover is this overview page here, and then move on to the promotions area where we can show how to build an email from scratch. But to start out, this overview page is just that. It gives you an overview of how things have been going in your account. As you continue to build an audience with new subscribers, with new imports of email addresses, and as you continue to send emails, this overview page will give you kind of an idea of how your emails have been performing in terms of people viewing the emails, clicking on links in the emails, how many contacts are getting in through web forms or signups, and then some additional information on things you can do within your account will appear here. The promotions tab up here is where you're going to go when you're ready to create an email promotion. If you've created at least one, it will be here in front of the Mad Mimi logo. And as you continue to create them, you'll be able to go through older promotions, edit them, resend them, and so on. But to get started, you'll click Compose. So Compose brings up this window where you have a few different options. As it says here, you can choose a template to get started. And it should be noted that each of these 4 templates, the sales promotion, event, invitation, you can kind of scroll your mouse over the examples area. All of these are going to be using the exact same tools we're going to cover in this demo. So no matter which one of these you choose, it's still going to have the same tools we'll cover, but the only difference is that it'll have some pre-existing content put in to give you some inspiration and a good jumping off point to start building your email from scratch. As you've made some emails, over here on the right, you'll actually have an option to create an email based on an email that you've designed in the past. So you can start creating your own templates, basically. There's another option, set of options down here as well. Plain text is for people who just want to create an email that looks like a plain Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo email from one email client to another. There's no images, no fancy coding anywhere. It's just a plain text email. Next to that, insert HTML. If you or your team is comfortable with HTML design, this is where you're going to go to import a zip file of HTML code of your email, or enter in the full code of the email itself. So this one's definitely a little more advanced, but can be a perfect tool for people who do already have a design in mind through HTML and just want to send it through Mad Mimi. For us, we're going to go with what we call the standard composer tool. Again, since all of these have the same tools in mind, we'll just go ahead with this one here, the build your own template. So after you choose a template, you're taken to the Composer page. This page is going to be where you have all the tools needed to build your email from scratch, upload images, stylize it with different colors, and so on. So let's start from the top. At the very top, you've got a title that just says the type of template you chose, in this case an update, as well as the time and date. You can name it whatever you'd like, because the subject line, you'll choose that when you're sending the email. So the name here can be as boring as you need it to be to remember it later. You don't need to get creative with it yet. The subject line is specified when you are ready to send. After you've made any changes at all, you can click the Save button up here. So there is no autosave. You're going to want to make sure you're saving regularly as you go to keep those saves logged. And after you make at least one save, the Preview button up here will be available. You click that, you're taken to a full page version of your email. So this full page version is actually going to be available for all of your readers as well. with this web version button that comes in with the emails that you send. It can just help to see it all without any other clutter around it. And you can even send a test down here with this option. It's best to send a test to an email address that will be different than the one you're sending from. This is just kind of a spam filter thing, but you can enter any address there that you want to send a test to, and it should show up very shortly. Below the name and save area, we've got the actual body of the email. There's two prompts here that can be used to add some images in. Where it says got a logo, drag it here, and then click to add a banner. So if you click there, actually, you're going to see some additional information on what the banner image is like. Its recommended width is 590 pixels because it will stretch to be that wide. It's going to be the widest image in your email and can really help if you have an image like that to call attention to your brand. Maybe you're sending on behalf of a certain event or organization. If you do have a sort of banner-like image, this is a great place to get that brand right at the top of the email for your readers to see. And as it says here, we can help creating a banner image for you. You can click on that to learn a little bit more about that program. With images, you're going to start by uploading an image on the right. You can see over here I have a little 6 next to that. I have 6 uploaded images. You can always click Load More to add those in. So here's some images that I've already uploaded. But anytime you want to upload an image, you will click this little plus icon. That brings up your computer's folders. You can choose which one you want to upload. And then it's available for you to use. So let's say we're sending on behalf of this teddy bear company, Casey's Cuddly Critters. I've got that banner image here now. I can click and drag that over into the banner image area. We can see it kind of changes the color there. We let go and the banner image is placed. This little edit icon here that looks like a pencil, that allows us to add a link. And as it says, the banner does not have a link. This can be really helpful to have. It'll encourage your visitors or your readers to visit your site if you do have a corresponding site, and can help eliminate some confusion from your readers right away. If they don't necessarily remember who they signed up with, you've got the brand right up here and then a link to the site itself. So for lack of imagination, we'll just go ahead and go to example.com, but you'll enter the link address here and click Save. So now this is a functioning link. The logo is a little bit different. It's a smaller image, and both of these are optional, but we can show an example of that. Let's say I upload some more of these bear images. I can even upload, I'll just upload this one here. If I click and drag that over to the logo area, we'll see what kind of logo image we're looking at. So the logo image is meant to be used for nice little logos for your company to like kind of adorn the top of your email. If your company or organization or event does have that kind of catchy little logo, this is the perfect place for it. If it turns out you don't really like that or don't need it, this little gear icon to the right of it, you can click that. This opens up this menu called Styles, which we'll be showcasing in a bit, where we can delete that image and then click Save to make those changes. Now, the logo and banner image areas are the only places where you'll just drag the images right in. The rest of the content of the email is built with modules. Modules are kind of the framework or skeleton of your email. Based on the template you choose, you'll have a number of modules already in place. Right here, we've got one that showcases where a headline could be, some additional information here, letting you know what kind of text you could have there for your update, and then a little sign off. All of these are modules. If we click on any of those modules, we'll see some additional options. The headline here has some coding below it. It has the module type right here. As it says, you can change the module type there. And then it has some text formatting options. There are 7 modules that you can use to build your email piece by piece. They're also down at the bottom here. So there's an image and text side by side one, text and image, text, just an image, section title, which is for a specific kind of text, and then a button and a divider. So we can show each of those off right now. Let's say we don't want this text one. Let's just go ahead and delete that text. We can click here to change that module type for an existing module. Click here, image and text. We can see there is an image area where there's a little arrow dragging down in front of this portrait. That is where we could then drag an image in, like so. And then we can start working on the text to its side. There's also the side by side in the other direction here with text and image. Then image itself, a section title. The main difference between a section title and text is that you can have a larger piece of text that does just that. It's a title of a larger section of your email. It's good for longer newsletters, specifically because it has this option to make a table of contents. So let's just say, for example, we were to put an introduction here. Type out introduction, click the table of contents button here, right in the module tools. We can see introduction has been added up here. So what this does is it allows us to continue doing this. We could add more section titles and make a menu up there piece by piece. And if someone clicks introduction, it takes them an introduction. If someone were to click, conclusion, after we make another section title, it would bring them down there. So it's kind of a specific tool, but pretty helpful for people who want to make longer newsletter format emails. Below that, we've got button as well. And button is a handy tool to encourage your readers to go visit a site of yours or maybe click on an offer. What it does is it just makes this kind of button where you click on it. What should the button say? Buy now, for example, and then where do you want it to go to? The URL of the website you want that button to go to. If you click save here, you now have a working button where people can click it and get taken to exactly where you'd like them to go. The last module type is very straightforward. It is just a divider line, a purely aesthetic little thing that can help divide some of the content up in your email. So those are the 7 module types, and you can use as many or as few of them as you'd like. Piece by piece, you can add them from here. So for example, if I wanted image and text, it gets added to the bottom of the email, and then I want a text and image maybe. I click that. Those are now laid out like so. Each module not only has the little module type up here, but it has tools to delete the module. It has specific tools for that type of module. For the image here, you can add a caption or a link to the image. You can delete the image. For the text, you can work on a few different text edit options. And then each module has the option to be dragged up and down in the email. So this is how you're going to reorder content as you're adding it in. So let's say we want to get rid of these example modules that were put in for us. We can click on there, click the delete icon, do this as well, and we've gotten rid of those modules. I can click over here and kind of see what the preview is, where it shows the basic skeleton of our email so far. We have our banner image up here, and we added an image and text module, and then a text and image module here. We can click on those, start editing the content, adding content to it. If we wanted to move it around, we can use that little drag module to do so. So for the purposes of this email, let's say it's kind of an announcement email on behalf of this teddy bear company, Casey's Cuddly Critters. And we've got some text here that we can use. Kind of scroll up and copy that and paste it in. So we've got some text that we can start editing. We've got these empty image modules where we can add some images in, but it's looking a little uneven right now. What we can do anytime you're adding text, and this can be a really helpful option if you've already started with your text, is highlight some text, cut it out. For me, I just used, I'm on a PC and I just used the Control X, but if you kind of want to go like that, you can cut like so, and then paste it into the new module. This can just help split everything up, make it look a little more symmetrical and easy on the eyes. And we've got a better framework. So let's say we want to add another image. We can add this one. And we can add those images to each of the image module areas. Now for the text, while it looks kind of nice, it's symmetrical looking email, the text is looking pretty plain. So the way we can actually edit the text is two different ways. The first is in the module, you'll have a number of tools where you can edit text. But you might see at a glance here, there's no real options for changing the color or the size of the text. There's options for bolding text, italicizing text, making text centered. You can link text this way. You can make a ordered list or unordered list. But then there's two options here for insert heading and insert subheading. We can show one of those off here right now. Highlight, come to our grand opening on Monday, click insert heading, click OK, and now we've got that ready. What this has done is it's changed that text into a heading. I can show exactly where that information is over here in the Styles menu. Click on Styles, and then this is where you're going to go when you're ready to change the color aspects of your email, change some font settings, but it also helps if you have multiple types of text like this. So by default, most people are going to have a style like this, something kind of blue and white like that, a simple theme or style. Each account has a number of styles already built in, and you can use any of them that you'd like. All of these are free for you to use. You can kind of go through each of those and click on them. And as you do so, you'll see what kind of changes are happening. The background color, the foreground color, the text settings, all of that's getting changed with each of the styles. And that's because each of these styles has all of those settings within them. So for us, say we're using this custom style that I've created. You can always click to create your own. We can click this pencil icon to bring up this menu with the tools we can use to make those edits. We've got the name of the style here. We can always change that. We've got the background color with options to choose different colors here, as well as use a hex code. If you're familiar with design or working with a design team at all, this is where you can input a hex code to be used. There's also colors of buttons, the color of the foreground here, the color of an optional border. I currently have a border, but for example, if you don't want that, you can uncheck that. And then the color of your footer down at the bottom. So all of these are customizable, and you can create your own style with all of these different color options or use an existing one. And in addition to the main colors for your style, there is the text settings. Now, when we click text, we can see some different types of text. There's section title. We kind of showed section titles a bit earlier. Heading, subheading, normal text, link text, button text, and footer text. Each of these can be edited to have different colors and fonts and sizes. And this is where this heading stuff is coming from. If we click there, we can see what font it is, what color it is, and what size it is. You can kind of see what pixel size it is right there. And you can increase or decrease the size by using one or two of the size A buttons here. Each one you click will increase or decrease the size of the text by 1 pixel. So let's say we want it up to that size. And if we wanted to change the alignment, we can do so. And if we wanted to change the rest of the text in the email, we can do that as well. We click text, the color here, the size here. Let's say we want it a little smaller. Maybe we want to try a little bigger. And as we can see, it's only changing the normal text in the email. So this is how you're going to be able to make changes to the different types of text in your email as opposed to just all at once. So that can be a lot all at once here to keep in mind. But basically, it's a combination of your styles menu over here, which applies colors and settings to your text. And then in your module itself, you'll have some tools to make some basic edits, such as bolding or italicizing. But you can also make a line or a paragraph of text into a heading or a subheading. The process, again, for that, we can kind of just go back here, is when you go into the text, you highlight that piece of text that you want to change, click Insert Heading or Insert Subheading. It adds this code underneath the text, which tells the system that the text above it is a heading. Click OK, and then that text is adjusted accordingly. Now for some other edits we want, let's say we want 9 a.m. to stand out here. It says we'll open our doors for the first time at 9 a.m. Let's highlight 9 a.m. there, and then click the bold text option. Just like the header we did up here, there is some markdown that appears near the text that tells the system what it should be. Markdown is a little more simplified form of HTML, and you don't really need to be too comfortable with HTML for this. For the most part, what you'll need to do is you'll just need to highlight the text you want to change and then use some of these tools at the top to make those edits, in addition to using the styles menu over here to make further changes. One other change we can make is a link. So let's say right down here, it's introducing this new teddy bear, Benny the Bear. So say hello to the newest addition to our critter family, Benny the Bear. Say we want to highlight that, click the link text button, and then link that to example.com. Now, just like the other text, we have Benny the Bear now in these brackets, and then example.com in parentheses. That's not what your readers are going to see. Instead, they will see a hyperlinked piece of text. Let's say that's looking a little too light as well. So we can go back to our styles, click Edit Style, go to the Text tab, go to Link Text, and change that color. So we could make it a little bit darker of a green, for example. So to review, in the Composer tool, there's a number of elements that go together to create the email you're trying to design. The skeleton or the framework of your email is modules. We have 7 of those modules. You can find all of them down here. Depending on the template you choose, it's going to have a number of those modules already in place. You can use those, edit them, customize them, or fully delete them, and then add your own modules as needed. Each module has some unique tools within them for editing images, editing text. You can move modules around like so. And you can use the styles menu over here to customize the background, foreground, and other stylistic elements of your email. For us, since we just recently saved settings in our styles, we don't need to auto-save or manually save, and we can actually just go ahead and see what the email is looking like in its own one-page environment. You can see there we've got our working banner up here, the hyperlink. We've got Benny the Bear working there as a hyperlink as well. So we'll move on now to the audience page. But first, before we do that, we'll go to the promotions page to see how it's changed. Instead of that introduction to the promotions page, we can see now that our email is here with all the tools we can use to further edit it, make a copy of it, or use this clone tool. We can share that full page version of the email here. We can schedule to send this in the future, or we can manually send it now. But before we do that, let's get some addresses or email addresses in our audience tab. When we click Audience tab, we're taken here to this list. All contacts is going to be in every single Mad Mimi account. It is the primary account that holds every single one of the active email addresses you have. You can make an additional number of custom lists here. So let's just say we want to call this the September list. Say we're having a bunch of contacts being added in. this month, and we want to organize those, and that will come in handy during the import process. When we click Add Contacts up here, this is how you're going to do just that. By default, it's going to prompt you to upload a CSV or spreadsheet file, maybe a text file, and then there's also an option to paste contacts in here. You can also add contacts to a custom list with this dropdown. Now we can see there's all by default. That's the all contacts list that we were looking at earlier, and then our new September list that we can add to as well. The other option there, suppression list, we can showcase briefly before we do the upload process, is a very handy tool to make sure you're not resending to people who should not receive any emails. This is where bounced contacts, unsubscribes, unconfirmed addresses, people who mark your emails as spam. It's basically the quarantine list for any of the contacts you add to your account. So as it says here, they do not count towards your total number of stored contacts. So on Mad Mimi plans, you have a certain number of contacts you can send to. Suppressed contacts do not count towards that total. Since it's much more secure to have a record of those in your account, we keep this entirely free. Now let's go ahead and add some contacts. Click Add Contacts, click the Upload area, and we've got an example spreadsheet. To showcase that, actually, we can go ahead and just open that up. This is the kind of spreadsheet that will work best with Mad Mimi. It doesn't need to look exactly like this, but you'll have different columns for each individual piece of information you want to upload. And it should have a column header for each of those fields. There will need to be an email column. So contacts are anchored around their email address, but then you can add more columns for each piece of information you'd like to add. There's name, favorite color, for example. You could have location-based information. Whatever details you feel like you need to track within your Mad Mimi account, you can have a column for those in the spreadsheet and then upload that spreadsheet, and Mad Mimi will import all of those details into the account. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and upload this file. So I've selected that file. We can see kind of the file path towards it, which shows that it's ready to be uploaded. Below here, paste contacts. If we wanted to, we could actually just copy and paste the contacts in that file instead. So that's another option. And then there's the Add to List button down here. So let's go ahead and just add those to the September list. Now we click Add Contacts, and it asks us where these contacts came from. So in terms of privacy regulations and other standards for email marketing, we do ask that these contacts are all subscribers to your specific organization, and having some additional information about where they come from really helps to make sure that everything is being uploaded and sent to safely. So this is where you can specify that info. Let's say for us, it was through an online registration form at goodolexample.com. Now, after we're done with that, the upload is being processed and is complete. We've got these little fly notifications showing us that. Now we have this little option up here on the top that says Import History. When you click that, you'll see the details on all imports that have been made in the past, up to 10 imports. You can see the one that was made just today on September 18th. 3 contacts or 3 members were added in. We can view some additional details on the exact numbers, which will show maybe if some contacts were duplicates or if some contacts were already suppressed, contacts maybe who have already unsubscribed, and it'll give you information on that. Mad Mimi will always make sure that it's not duplicating contacts or removing people who have already unsubscribed, but it will show you how many contacts were duplicate or how many contacts were suppressed. There's also an option to undo the most recent import, and you can kind of go back one by one if you made some accidental imports. So if we click on this list here, we can kind of refresh those totals. We can see the September list now has 3 contacts. with the name field. The name field is the only one that will show by default in addition to the email address, but if you click on any of those email addresses, you'll see all of the information that you've imported with them. First name, last name, email address, title, if you want to add a title field to it, favorite color there. You can even add more fields here. So each email address does allow this level of customization. You can click on any of those. And actually, if you've sent an email to anyone, next to member details will be another tab that says emails received. This is super handy if you're trying to see how emails have been performing to a specific audience member. Let's say they reached out and asked if they were sent a recent email and they're looking for it. You can click on emails received, which will show up right next to member details after they've received at least one email, and check to make sure that they were sent the email, or maybe they did open it and you can see that information. So back on the audience list, we can see the all contacts list has been updated as well. So as we mentioned before, the all contacts list is the master list. So even though we imported this file into the September list, it will still show in all contacts. So this list is meant to have everyone that's in your account, but you can also categorize contacts into as many of these custom lists as you need. This is helpful for people who maybe have contacts who are internal only, maybe they signed up for only specific types of email, and that's going to be how you're really going to be able to keep them separate. And as we'll show during the sending process, MadMimi is built to make sure you can send only to specific lists. You can include certain lists, you can exclude others, and so on. And with any list, you can always export the list to send yourself a downloaded file. It'll go to your account email address. So we covered the suppressed list down here a little bit, which is that quarantine list or the do not send list. Above that here is the signups list. This one is just for people who come into your audience through Webforms. And so we're going to take a quick detour from the audience page here to highlight Webforms, since that's a very popular tool within your account. To do that, we're going to showcase the Add Things menu. Up here at the top, when you click Add Things, you're going to see all of the additional tools MadMimi provides. So in addition to creating emails and then importing subscribers and then sending those emails, we have a number of tools that kind of facilitate certain sending strategies. They can help gather new contacts. You can create an autoresponder here. And I encourage you to check through these. While we're not going to have time to cover these within this demo, you can scroll through these and see a number of the tools that MadMimi provides. RSS to email for people who are bloggers and want to set up an RSS feed for new posts. Drip campaigns, or the autoresponders that we provide. But at the very top, we have Webforms. So I've turned this on with this toggle. You can turn that on and off. And then you can use this little gear icon to go set up a web form. When you click that, you're taken to the web form area where you can start with a brand new web form. Web forms by default are going to have this basic look. They're going to have the top here with whatever title you'd like. You can change this with an image. You can change the background to be an image. And then by default, it's just going to have an email field. The tools over here on the right are going to be what you can use to further customize that web form. You can gather additional information. Right down here, gather the following information, email, or add more fields. You've got a name field, city field, a number of pre-existing fields that you can use. And you can also use what we call fancy fields or custom fields. This is where you can get information such as that favorite color field that we added in earlier. You choose a field type, a text field, a drop-down menu, checkboxes, all of that. You can even create a terms of service option here for privacy regulation things as needed. So there's quite a lot of options for a web form. If you are having any questions on these as you go along, maybe you have something in mind with how to set up a custom web form, definitely send us an email. The one here, joe@madmimi.com, is one example, but our primary address is support@madmimi.com. It all goes to our support inbox, and we are quick to reply from there, and we'll be happy to help should you have other questions on setting up a web form. But these web forms work pretty handy. Someone enters their email address here, click subscribe. After they complete the subscription process, go back to the audience page here, they will show up in the signups list, where you can kind of track how many of your contacts are coming in specifically through signups. Now this number is a little skewed down here, but it shows that I have 3 out of about 2 billion. Because this is a custom account, it's got a much higher total, but that's going to be where you will see the number of contacts that you can upload and send to per your plan level. So if you're on one of our most popular plans, the $42 a month, 10,000 contacts plan, it would show the number of contacts you have in your all contacts list over 10,000. And there's also a button here to upgrade as needed. So a quick overview here of the audience page. When you're ready to upload contacts, you can click Add Contacts. That takes you to this window where you've got the different options for uploading contacts, from a spreadsheet to pasting contacts in all at once. You can add contacts in one by one as well. That's something we didn't show. This is super handy for just a few contacts at a time. And with both options, you can add those contacts to a custom list of your choice. You can even create a list down here. This is all to help with the importing process to make sure that you are categorizing your contacts as needed, to make sure that they are kept separate. You're only sending the content you want to one audience, or you're keeping track of contacts in a certain list and not another. In addition to that, there's a few other tools within the audience page for signups and suppressed, aka don't send emails, and kind of quarantined email addresses. So to wrap things up, we're going to go back to the promotions page and go through the sending process. By default, it's just going to show the last email you were working on. If you click schedule, the difference between what we're going to show in the send area is just that you'll choose a specific time and date to send the email. When you click send, you're taken to the recipients area first. It'll tell you you can send to individuals here. If you type an email address here, let's say for our example, we'll just type to support@madmimi.com. You can enter a few email addresses here, but for larger sends, you're going to want to use the audience lists that you've created. You can see here entire audience is one of those options, but so is September list. So if we had some different categories, we could choose to include some and not others. Now a note on the exclude button. This is pretty rare. Most people watching this video will not need to use the exclude button. This is specifically for people who have their lists split up in a very specific way. So what it does is, for example, if I were to include the entire audience but exclude the September list, that would be telling the system to send to all 3 contacts, but not the 3 contacts in the September list, which would basically send to 0 people, other than the support@madmimi address up here. So if I wanted to send to everyone, you just click include on the list you want to send to and leave the other options completely unchecked. We'll get rid of that and we'll just send to our support address. Now when we click continue, we're taken to the details tab. The details tab here is where we'll specify the envelope information of the send, the from name, the from email address, and the subject line. So what we mentioned at the beginning of the demo when we were creating our email, this is where you can actually create that subject line and spend a little more time getting creative doing so. You can highlight that subject line, kind of replace it with something, and let's just say something like Casey's Cuddly Critters has an announcement. Taking some time on your subject line is something we really recommend. There are several things that will go into play with the deliverability of your email, and subject line is a big part of it. So email filters are pretty sensitive to a lot of things. Starting out, Mad Mimi is diligent with working with blacklists and other organizations who monitor sends. But the other side of this is actually the content and the audience and subject line and all of that of each individual sender. So if you're making sure that your email is nice looking, it doesn't have, all caps typing of like buy now, click here, buy now, subject line, bunch of exclamation marks and stuff like that, that has been associated with spam emails enough over time that it's more likely it will be sent to spam or maybe not arrive at all. So really taking some time not only with the content of your email, making sure it's nice and balanced with some image, with some text, but also with the subject line will really help with returns on your email marketing investment. The from name and from email address, those can be changed here. Whatever you're comfortable sharing, people can reply to that from email address. It'll look like it's coming directly from that email address to them, although it is going through our servers. The from name can be your business, it can be your personal name, it can be the name of the event, and so on. There are some additional options here. Click tracking and view tracking. These are recent additions because of privacy regulations, most specifically with GDPR. So if your specific context calls for not collecting information on people who click emails or click to open your emails, you can disable that tracking here. Because by default, the emails will indeed track that information so that you can see who's clicking, who's opening, and give you some information on how those emails are performing. But if that does not qualify with your specific situation or you do not want to collect that information, you have the options to do that here. The other option below that, second send, this is kind of our equivalent of an A/B test. When you click second send, that will give you an option to create an additional subject line. This additional subject line is used for a send that would be sent out 72 hours after the first send. This is helpful if you want to send an email out and make sure that people are reading it, but want to give them a little bit of time to do so. 72 hours after that first send, it will track who opened the first email, and people who did not open it will receive the email one more time with a different subject line. And then below that, these social media options, these are what we call social sharing. They're a little bit different than links to your own social media. That is actually done just as a detour here in the add things area. You can see that on my email, I had already turned these on. I've got a Facebook button as well as a Quora button down here. Those are turned on in your add things area and not here. But what these are is social sharing. And that provides a button on the top of your email that allows readers to share this full page version of your email with their own followers. So for example, if you were to click Twitter, that will give a tweet option at the very top of your email. If someone clicks that, they can tweet the link to this email to their own Twitter followers. So you're giving your readers the tools to share your emails with their followers. It can be kind of a nice way to get a little bit more exposure to your email. Now, let's say we're looking pretty good with our email. We've got our addresses chosen and all that. We click send. This final announcement comes up. Good to review. What's your subject line? From information. Who it's going to. Our click and view tracking enabled. You can save these settings to send later or go ahead and send it right away. Now, when this comes up, it's pretty much on its way. You have a few seconds to undo the send, but it is best to make sure that it's good to go when you're sending. First-time senders will encounter a verification process, which usually takes very little time just to make sure that everything is looking good with your email. And when that's all done, you can send it as you need. After this sending process is done, it takes you to the statistics page of that email where you can start immediately tracking how the email has been performing. And here's an example of that. You have an example of with our email that we just sent, the one address accepted, the viewed category, looks like someone has already opened it. And then there's also the engaged category here as well, where you can see how many people are clicking on links in the email. So this can be a powerful section to see how well your emails are performing and see how much of a return on investment you're getting. That's how much we want to cover in today's demo. Hopefully this helps you get a little more confident navigating Mad Mimi from the overview page where you can see how well emails are performing and what's going on with your audience, to the promotions page where you're creating, editing, and sending emails, as well as tracking the information of how they're working. And then the audience tab where you have all of the email address information that you need. And then the add things area where you can start turning on our feature add-ons, including some third-party integrations as well. So if you have any further questions, we are always available on our email support line of support@madmimi.com. Again, hopefully this helps you get a little more comfortable with the Mad Mimi tool, and we'll be happy to help further should you need anything else. Thanks a lot.